Welcome to episode 1 of Lyman Lives Matter. Long overdue, but to my right, I have the one, the only Jack Wanick. I am Joe Janisic, and thank you for listening in. Jack, start us off.
All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is our NFL predictions. Now, after week 1, most of our predictions are already terrible, but let's go through them anyway. All right, so start with the AFC East. Patriots, any disagreement there, Joe?
No.
I mean, you saw what they did without Antonio Brown, beating the Steelers by 30 points, so not much to say there.
I got the Patriots having the second seed in the AFC. They're going to go 11-5 and win the division. That division is always a cakewalk as long as Tom Brady is QB1 and Belichick is the head coach. I don't see anybody in 2-3 years trying to be an actual contender to take the crown.
I would absolutely agree. I would say if you want to see the heir to the throne, take the Jets with Darnold. But that's another story. All right, on to the AFC North. I did it after their Week 1 performance. I'm not as sure, but I picked the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I did my predictions before the Bears-Packers game on Thursday. I'm not going to change any of the things I did. I'm going to go as is. I actually have Cleveland tying with Baltimore, both going 10-6. Now to the AFC West, I think this one's obvious. I have the Chiefs at 12-4. They're going to take the top seed in the AFC. Jack, what do you think? Because I know a lot of people are saying that the Chargers might be able to actually win the division and take an upset.
There's no doubt that they could, but when you look at the Chiefs, that Kelsey and Mahomes connection is just brutal. Like, it's going to win you games that you have no business winning. Therefore, I think there's no doubt the Chiefs win the division.
Now to the AFC South, I got the Jags going 10-6, and I've gotten backlash over this one because I have Houston going 9-7 and finishing second. I just don't know with Deshaun Watson being the most sacked quarterback in the league, if they can't clean that up a little bit. I know that they just got Duke Johnson, Kenny Stills, and Laramie Tunsil. I'm still kind of iffy about the pass protection or lack of that they're trying to give their franchise guy for the next 10, 15 years.
Now, this podcast is called Lineman Lives Matter, so of course Joe's going to bring up the linemen, but he's absolutely right. What do you need to win a football game? You need an offensive line and a defensive line. You need that line to win. What don't the Texans have? An offensive line. So when you look at that, I can't in good faith pick the Texans. I like their quarterback. I like everything about them except the O-line. That's why I also went with the Jaguars.
Now, something with Jacksonville, though, is the injury to Nick Foles, but I know Gardner Minshew actually did pretty well yesterday, and I was impressed with him because he was the guy that was definitely under the radar for everybody else, because when you look at the rookie quarterbacks, there honestly wasn't a lot that stung you out right away, like Drew Lock, Brian Finley, Daniel Jones, Dwayne Haskins. None of these guys are Week 1 ready by any means, but playing against the Chiefs in Week 1, Minshew goes out, and besides that one interception that he threw, he was one of the best quarterbacks playing yesterday. I was impressed.
He looked good, and for our listeners at home, I am the resident Pac-12 fan, and I will let you know that any Pac-12 quarterback, such as Gardner Minshew, is the future. Never forget, I picked Sam Darnold to win the Heisman a few years back. Not a good look for me.
I'm not going to forget about that. I will give you crap about that every single day as long as I know you. But
okay, so on to the NFC. All right, we're going to start with the East. Now, I didn't want to say this because I don't like them. No one likes them. If you've seen the Facebook comments, you know what I'm talking about. It's the Dallas Cowboys. Zeke is paid. Dak's playing like he wants to get paid. I mean, come on. Are the Giants going to take their crown? You saw what happened. Joe, what do you think?
I got the Giants going 4-12. That's what we're going to talk about at the end. We're going to talk about who's going to be in last because I have a couple things in mind that I want to talk about in cases for why I have them where they are. I have the Eagles going at 10-6. I think they're going to win the East. I know that Wentz has durability issues, but now he's back 100%. He has a new face with Deshaun Jackson, who you saw yesterday. He's already making an impact not going to be a really good season for them by what there used to be with the runs that they had with Nick Foles, but I still got them going number one here.
I mean, when I was writing this down, I picked Cowboys, but you're a fool if you think the Eagles can't easily contend. I think it's a two-team division. I could see either one winning it, and I'm just excited to see what happens. So, moving on, the NFC North. Joe, tell us about your pick.
This one I'm torn on because of me being a Lions fan, but I like to keep it honest. Like I said, I made this before the Bears-Packers game, but I still have the Bears going 12-4.
Ah!
Yes, I know. I don't like the offense that Nagy has for Mitch Trubisky at all. I think with that offense, Nagy is making him look like a poor man's Alex Smith. I think that offense is too creative. I think it's making Tariq Cohen look like a wingback more than a running back, and I think Mitchell's just there to pass the ball 5-10 yards. They need to throw out a West Coast style like Green Bay had for Brett Favre before Aaron Rodgers became QB1. I think that as long as they have this offensive style that they showed against Green Bay, they are not going to win this division because I think this is the best division this year. I do want to talk about this later. I actually have the Packers and the Vikings tying for last in the division, but we're going to sneak around back on that in a couple minutes. I'll explain why.
Okay, so for me, it's simple. If I may quote Stephen A. Smith, Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. And that's the truth. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL, not Tom Brady. You say Tom Brady, Drew Brees, that's great. It's Aaron Rodgers. Don't kid yourself. So, what does Aaron Rodgers need to win? A good defense. When did Aaron Rodgers have a good defense? 2010, 2011. Joe, tell me, what did the Packers do that year?
They went to the Super Bowl.
Did they win the Super Bowl? I believe they did.
Yes.
Give Aaron Rodgers a good defense. See what happens. Okay. And Aaron Rodgers has that good defense, and he's got the weapons. Packers win. I think they could be the number one seed in the NFC.
As long as the Rams have a healthy Todd Gurley and Jared Goff, and as long as Aaron Donald doesn't get suspended for doing anything stupid, knock on wood, because he probably will, I got the Rams also going 12-4, but I think they're going to take the top seed.
Well, it'll be an interesting battle for sure. Hopefully we can see these two teams play down the road in the playoffs.
So, who's your two wild card teams in the NFC?
See, that was tough for me because I think the Eagles are going to be right on the Cowboys, and I think the Eagles make it. And then, after what we saw, I really don't want to believe in them, but I do think the Bears find a way to slip in.
See, I have the Saints winning the NFC South at 11-5. We didn't talk about that, but I actually have the Lions and the Falcons both at 10-6, being the couple spots. I have Seattle and Dallas both at 9-7. I'm not completely sold on them. I still think Dak Prescott is a false messiah. I think if you give any quarterback in the league, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, Jason Witten is back, old reliable, and you give anyone an offensive line of that caliber, heck, you could give Nathan Peterman that offensive line, and he'll have a top 10 QBR this week.
Stop.
I got to be honest. Dak is a false messiah, and I still don't have faith in him. I just don't.
Well, if there's any question about who the sane one in this podcast is, I think the listeners can work that out. All right, so moving on. We'll put you on the spot right here.
Yep.
Who is your NFL MVP?
Honestly, it just depends on how the season goes because you can't tell with injuries or any...
Joe, the listeners want an answer. Give us a name.
I mean, you're kind of putting a gun on my head on this one, but...
That's correct.
I'm going to say Jared Goff.
Well, was not expecting that. I like that. I like Jared Goff. I think he's the future of this league. But the future is not now because Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP. I talked about him earlier. I like Aaron Rodgers. This is a redemption year for him. I believe he goes all or nothing. And I think Aaron Rodgers easily wins the MVP. Packers get the top seed. Super Bowl, maybe?
He has no more excuses. Mike McCarthy is out of town. He has a brand new head coach. He is 100% healthy. He has new weapons on offense and a new starting running back who looks a lot better than Montgomery already. If he doesn't get to the playoffs this year, cutthroat. He has no more excuses this year.
I'm not making excuses.
I know you're not. I'm just saying that's why I have them going at 7-9 because historically speaking, when you have a rookie head coach, things don't go well. It's going to take 1 or 2 years to help build that culture, but the problem is when you have a quarterback like Rodgers, it's win now. And I just don't see LaFleur doing that yet.
You said 7-9. The Green Bay Packers, 7-9. 7 wins, 9 losses, correct?
Along with the Vikings, yes.
Okay.
7-9.
Okay. Well, that is certainly interesting.
So, who do you think is going to get the first overall pick? Because I got 3 teams in contending, but one obvious choice.
Number 1 overall pick this year, I'm going to go with Miami Dolphins. I think they're going to be beyond atrocious. And, well, it can only go up from here, Miami. Sorry if you're a Miami fan listening. I like the Dolphins.
Yeah, I got no room to talk about this because I had Lamar Jackson on the bench and he dropped 66 points yesterday against the Dolphins. Yeah, rest in peace to that defense. I just hope that nobody started them in their leagues because they looked terrible. But I think it can honestly be Arizona. The problem with the Cardinals is their offensive line allowed the 4th most sacks last season. And even though he's not here anymore, Josh Rosen, bless his heart, he got thrown into probably one of the worst offenses I have ever seen. He didn't even play 2 games, and he was already the 6th sack quarterback in the league. And if he played all 16, he would have been 3rd. And the problem is, you throw in a rookie head coach that had a losing record in the Big 12 with an offense that's never been tested before. They had the 3rd least amount of receptions in the league last year, last in yards, 3rd in touchdowns, 2nd to last in plays ran, last in yards per game, had the 3rd worst turnover margin, no targets for Kyler Murray besides Larry Fitzgerald, who's 35 years old, and the Cardinals dropped 26 passes last year. They are setting Kyler Murray up to fail. I don't know about you, but I think this is going to be a train wreck from the get-go.
To that, I respond with one simple question. Did the Cardinals lose when they played Sunday?
No.
Did the Dolphins lose when they played Sunday?
Yes.
That's all you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So now, we're going to talk college football. And let's just say that as a Pac-12 fan, Oregon really Oregon. Listen, Oregon.
I knew you were going to do this.
Okay, Oregon, I want to talk to all of you right now. Why? Why do you get my hopes up like this? You're going to be the SEC team, Auburn. You're going to do it. Make the Pac-12 look good, and you lose? Why do I like this conference again? Oh my God. Joe, tell these people something they don't know.
Okay, so we made our own predictions with LSU versus Texas and Clemson versus Texas A&M, and Jack actually said that A&M had a chance, but you never told me how. Would you mind telling the audience how you thought A&M could actually beat Clemson in South Carolina with Trevor Lawrence?
See, the thing is, yes, they have Trevor Lawrence. Yes, it's in South Carolina. Yes, Clemson's the overwhelming favorite. I don't buy into this idea that they're invincible and that the right team can't come along when they're not expecting it and just upset them. And Texas A&M, yeah, it's an upset, but this isn't Appalachian State. This isn't Middle Tennessee State. This is Texas A&M. I never said they would win. I said they could win. Big difference, Mr. Janisic.
I've always liked Jimbo Fisher, even when he was at Florida State. I thought he was one of the best coaches in the ACC, and I actually thought he was going to turn around A&M, but I just don't see that happening in quite some time, as long as they're going to be in the SEC when you have Auburn, LSU, Alabama, Georgia. That conference is just too heavy. But I do want to go on a limb. Everybody talks about Oh, the SEC can have 2 teams in the college football playoff. Again, we get the gist. No matter what Alabama does this year, they're going to be in the playoff. But the Big Ten is the best football conference. When you look at what Michigan State has done, negative 72 rushing yards against Tulsa. Now, I know some people are going to say, Joe, it's Tulsa. Tulsa is a Division I program playing for a spot in the playoff, just like us. On opening weekend, when you allow negative 72 yards, no matter who you play, that's a statement saying, we're ready, try it on us. And I do have problems with Michigan, though, but statistically, when you look at it, the Big Ten leads ranked teams right now due to the fact that Maryland just jumped in. We have one more. I think this can be the year for a dark horse Big Ten contender to actually be in the playoff. And it's not going to be Michigan. I'll get to that in a minute. But I think the winner of the Big Ten, it's either going to be Wisconsin, Michigan State, or Ohio State. And the winner is going to make the playoff. I know previously I never said that, but based off of watching the past couple games, I think the winner of the Big Ten is going to have enough prestige to make a case for getting a spot.
On paper, you're absolutely right, but there's one thing you're forgetting. The Big Ten cannibalizes itself. It is the best conference top to bottom. How, like last year, you saw Purdue, of all teams, beat Ohio State.
Oh, that wasn't even close.
Like,
I loved every minute of it.
Like, Purdue? What? Name it, like, is that going to happen in the SEC? Is Vanderbilt going to beat Alabama?
No.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Not even on a video game they can. So we could just put that one in the water right now. But I do want to talk about Michigan versus Army because I think if you are a Wolverine fan, it's time to hit the panic button because I know you guys played a team that ran the triple option and they took you to double overtime. But that's the problem. You played against Army, who only passed, 3 times? And once it was in overtime, they only passed 3 times in 60 minutes. And they take you, ranked number 7, in the big house to double overtime. Now, I watched them play Middle Tennessee State. The school that was not being named to us. But they looked okay. I thought they had some cobwebs to get out just like we did against Tulsa. The offense was terrible. We were booing Brad Salem whenever the offense went off the field in the fourth quarter because of how stagnant they were. And the next week against Western Michigan, they go out and score 51, and a redshirt freshman running back has 194 yards. Then we look at Michigan playing Army and gets taken into double overtime. And Shea Patterson is having so many problems with his ball security that I don't know if Michigan is going to come out into bowl season with less than 2 losses. I think they're going to lose to Michigan State and Ohio State. If Patterson doesn't clean up the ball security when he's sitting in the pocket, he could be benched.
I'd say that's an absolute extreme, but if you were to tell me that week 6, week 7, Shea Patterson got benched, I wouldn't have the most trouble believing it because his ball security has been a joke. He's fumbled on a first drive in 2 consecutive games. Shea, you got to get that taken under control, my man.
And I've said this for a couple years now, but Harbaugh is now at the point where this is his guys, his first whole recruiting class single-handedly is going to graduate this year. From this point on out, just like Aaron Rodgers, there's no more excuses. With Ohio State having a new head coach and Brian Lewerke coming back from an injury, everybody thought this is the year for Michigan. But if they don't even make it to the Big Ten championship game, am I the only one that sees Harbaugh getting canned?
Should he? Yes. Will he? I don't know, because there's that aura with him that he's the Michigan man, and he's not been a bad coach. He will get you 10 wins in a season. A lot of teams would kill for that. But It is Michigan. They expect better. Will Harbaugh get fired? I'm going to say not after this year, as long as they get to 9 wins. If they get 9 or more wins, no matter what, Harbaugh stays.
Now, the problem is that they do fire Harbaugh. Who else can they find to bring in that's going to match their profile? Because they brought in Jim thinking, oh, he's the Messiah. He's going to be taking us to the promised land. Well, if the promised land is a New Year's Six Bowl in which you're going to lose, he's doing a good job. But that's not what you brought him in for. But that's another thing that I want to talk about, too, going back to the Pac-12 when you showed frustration with Oregon losing to Auburn. I originally talked about USC possibly winning the Pac-12, but with JT Daniels tearing his ACL, I think they're completely out of the conversation now.
Did you watch the Stanford game?
Yes, I did.
How about that performance? Don't count USC out yet. They had a big win against Stanford. Now, winning the Pac-12 at this point, it's not that hard to do. I'm pretty sure my local middle school team could probably at least squeeze out 4 wins. The Pac-12's not the conference that is, in the SEC you got Bama, Auburn, LSU. You've got the clear favorites. Who's the favorite in the Pac-12? Oregon?
Utah.
Yeah, okay.
I seriously think that Utah has a chance of winning the Pac-12 and making the playoff because...
Making the playoff.
Now, there's one Achilles heel to their schedule. If they make it to the conference championship game, they are only playing one ranked team on their schedule. Washington. Washington just lost to California.
Yeah.
So they jumped off a cliff in the top 25 ranking. So if they lose 1, maybe 2 more games, Utah can go all the way to the Pac-12 championship and not play a single team that's ranked until then, where you possibly might have Oregon. That's not enough to get you into the playoff, but for Utah to potentially go into the bowl season undefeated, I think that's good enough to go to the Rose Bowl, but I don't think with as deep as the top 10 is this year, I don't know if that's good enough to go to the playoff, but don't count out Utah.
Well, at this point, any Pac-12 team in the playoff is a dream for me, so go Utes then.
Yeah, you were pretty excited when Justin Herbert came back for his last year, but after the Auburn game, you seemed scratching your head.
It's just, I want to see the Pac-12 do well, but I know that's not going to happen.
No.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about the NBA. Now, right now, I want to put you on the spot.
Yes, sir.
If you could have any one of the new formed duos to build your team around, who would you pick? This is counting like Clay and Steph. You want to count like already existing duos.
Yes, any duo in the league right now.
That's correct.
Now, it depends on my offensive style, because if I want to go pace and space, like 5-10 second offense, obviously you want to go with 2 of the best shooters in the history of the league. You want to go with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, but if you want to go for around 1, try to space the floor a little bit, try to get a couple looks in the post, you have to go with LeBron and Anthony Davis. I think that is going to be the perfect duo, but I'm not sure how it's going to work out this year. We can't say much because they haven't played together yet, but on paper, I think that can actually be a pretty good duo.
I'll tell you who I'm not going to pick. Harden and Westbrook.
Oh God, no. That's a train wreck.
Harden, I like James Harden as a player. Westbrook, I like him as a player. They will fundamentally not work with each other when there's only one basketball. I'm sorry, Rockets fans. I don't see it working.
We see all the memes on Instagram and whatnot of Harden and Westbrook literally trying to steal the ball from each other to get the last second shot. I don't think it's going to be that much to an extreme, but both of them are guys that need the ball in their hand for all 24 seconds for the offense to work. Harden is not going to want to be a co-star in Houston. Westbrook doesn't want to be a co-star again like he was with Kevin Durant when he was in Oklahoma City. I don't see Houston being a top 3 seed because I think that's going to be a civil war in Texas until they get their stuff figured out. I just think that's not going to be well from the start. I don't know about you.
No, absolutely not. I see Houston making the playoffs, no doubt. They're way too talented. 2 former MVPs, Clint Capella, no. We can stop the Rockets aren't making the playoff talk right now. As for which duo I'd take, I'm a Laker fan. I want to take LeBron and AD, but I'm going to take Steph and Clay because they're proven. They've won the championships. They're 2 of the best shooters in the history of the NBA, if not the 2 undisputed best. I'm taking Steph and Clay until someone can prove that they're better.
Right now, we originally are not going to talk about this, but with current events and what's transpired the last couple days, Antonio Brown, what the hell's going on?
Oh boy. Now, Antonio Brown is an athlete who I used to be a really big fan of. I thought he was the undisputed best wideout in the league. I still think he's up there, but Gruden said it best. He just said, stop this and play football. Isn't that what y'all kind of want from him?
Yeah, it's kind of like the shut up a dribble remark for LeBron James, but not that much to an extreme. But when you look at Brown, who, when he got traded to Oakland, frostbit his feet, threatened to retire if he couldn't play for a helmet that he's worn for 10 years, which is illegal to an extreme. And as a former coach and a former player, if I knew that one of my teammates or my players was trying to play with the same helmet for 10 years, I would kick him off the team. They're stupid because all the reconditioning that the helmets have to go through and everything, you shouldn't have the same helmet for more than 2-3 years because it's not safe anymore because especially if you're a receiver, running back, or a quarterback, you take shots to the head probably 5 times more than what a lineman does. And for you to wear the same helmet for more than 3 years, it's not safe anymore. And we all see the jokes, oh, the last time Brown was normal, it was before he got knocked out by Vontaze Burfict in the playoffs. And honestly, to a degree, I gotta believe that because I hate to say he's a drama queen, but he was the stupid before that game.
Well, I think this whole thing, it's sort of dehumanizing to an extent. We got to remember, this is a person. This is not some character in a game. It's a real life person in Antonio Brown. And he posted a YouTube video. It was basically a Nike commercial. It was in black and white. That was quotes from a conversation he had with Gruden. Now, when you look at that, you get the real sense that Antonio Brown really is this person. And people are treating him like a joke, like a meme at this point. You gotta remember that he said that if you want him to be in this role of the villain, that's exactly what he's gonna do. How much of this is really Antonio Brown, and how much of this is the character that he's playing because he sees it as the role that people want him to play, and he's buying into what people want.
I don't see that just being a scene. We'll find out when he gets to the Patriots because Belichick doesn't put up with any crap whatsoever. Like, as soon as he walks into the Patriots training camp, Belichick is going to say, hey, go out to the trees and give me a switch, just in case if I need it. He is going to straighten Brown into a poster child Patriots athlete. Unless he wants to be like Randy Moss and just be a train wreck. I honestly don't see how well Brown is going to fit with the Patriots. I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks, but you just don't know.
All right, moving on. I'm going to put you on the spot one more time.
Yes, sir.
NBA MVP. Who is it? Don't think, just tell me right now. You're thinking.
I know I got to think on this because I really haven't thought about it much because it's really not the point where it's going to talk about the NBA season because we still have a couple more months until the season starts. But if you put a gun on my head right now and said, who's the MVP? LeBron.
Joe, that's got to be the first smart thing you said in this entire podcast.
No, I mean, here's the thing, though. Anthony Davis, I think, is the best player that he's ever played with and ever will.
That's correct.
No offense to Dwayne Wade. He was a god, and Chris Bosh was the perfect third wheel. But there's just something about Davis where they are peanut butter and jelly, for a lack of better terms. Nothing will be as good as Kobe and Shaq in Los Angeles, but I think this can contend for one of the best duos to be in the Staples Center. I don't see LeBron taking a step back and letting Anthony Davis run the show. I think this is still LeBron's team, and he built this roster and hired the coaches. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. He built this team himself, and I think it's finally time that he makes the Lakers great again and takes them to the promised land. But you also have to worry about the other team that's playing in the same arena.
Yeah, no, Clippers are a joke. There'll always be. I'm kidding. All right, so if you couldn't tell by now, I'm obviously a huge Laker fan, but I'm also a huge Anthony Davis fan. And if you don't believe me, in high school, many, many years ago, I gave a speech on Anthony Davis. Well before he was a Laker, well before LeBron was a Laker. Kobe was still playing when this was happening. I gave a speech on Anthony Davis, why I believe he's the future of the league. How happy do you think I was to find out that Anthony Davis was traded to my favorite team?
Probably got a noise complaint.
Yeah, basically, I was just resting, I was just laying down, and I see the tweet from Woj, and I'm like, oh my god, my mom's like, what happened? And she's like freaking out. I'm like, oh, it's Anthony Davis. So she's like thinking someone died, or like there's a nuclear explosion happening, but no, Anthony Davis. Well, it was an explosion. Oh, wish bomb. That was my bad attempt at a little drum thing you hear after a joke. Anyways, moving on. Anthony Davis. You said he was the best player LeBron will ever play with.
Yes.
That's only if you count Shaq as way past his prime, which, come on now.
Yeah.
So Anthony Davis. What does he do well? Everything. He's even adding a three-point shot. Now, I'm not in love with the idea of Anthony Davis shooting a three, but if he can, let's do it.
When you play with LeBron, you have to be able to shoot any shot anywhere. You have to be able to space the floor. That's why when he was at Cleveland, he brought in Kevin Love and Channing Frye. And when he was in Miami, he brought in Chris Bosh, Shane Battier. He's not a center, but you can still put him out as small forward when he went small ball. But he wants anybody that's above 6'8" to be able to shoot about 35%.
Yeah. And I think it's no coincidence that Anthony Davis is adding this three-point shot in the summer that he's going to be teaming up with LeBron for the first time. I think that's no coincidence. And Anthony Davis, he's more of the young gun in this sense, whereas LeBron's the older, wiser mentor. And I think, but LeBron, he's 35, I believe.
Yeah.
So in one sense, you think, oh, he's 35, he's on his way out. No, he's most definitely not. He's just as athletic, it seems. He's just as good. LeBron is LeBron. LeBron does not age. Anthony Davis is younger, and he has more of that will to win in the regular season. Now, LeBron, he coasted the regular season. A couple years back, they were like, the 4 seed Cavaliers?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, the Cavs are falling down. And then they, made the finals like they always do. So LeBron's going to coast the regular season, but Anthony Davis is going to be there to help him out and make the Lakers win games. Because in this league, you don't win the MVP if you don't win games. You're not going to be, you're not going to be the 8th seed and getting an MVP award. Otherwise, Kobe would have about 6 from those 2005, 2006 years, which don't get me started on. Steve Nash, really? Kobe can average 35 points and lose the MVP to Steve Nash. I like Steve Nash. He's one of the greatest players to watch, but Steve Nash. That guy has 2 MVPs, and Kobe has 1. Come on now.
I mean, that's the way it is for any sport, because you don't see the Cy Young award winner being on a team with a losing record that doesn't make the playoffs. You don't see the NFL MVP on a team that was a wild card team or didn't make the playoffs. Like, name the last time there was an MVP in the NFL or the NBA that didn't make the playoffs. You can't.
Yeah, no one's coming to mind.
It's a bad narrative. I'm not going to say it's bad, but it's just something that we always have to talk about because it seems like you have to be the guy on the team to get that award.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at a couple years ago, Russell Westbrook won the MVP, and his team wasn't the 1 or the 2 seed. And that was, unprecedented, and this was this huge, big thing. Really, should it happen more? Who does the MVP award go to? Does it go to the best player on the best team or the best player? The yearly results tell us it goes to the best player on the best team. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. What do you define as a valuable player? You can be scoring 50 points a game, but if your team wins 10 games, who cares? You need to be on a winning team in order to get the MVP award. And at the end of the day, who cares about the MVP award? You think Jordan lost sleep over the fact that Charles Barkley won MVP over him one year? You know what Jordan did? No, he just took that NBA trophy home, took that Larry O'Brien home. I think he's pretty good at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like what happened with Giannis this year.
Harden was robbed.
He was not, but
Harden was robbed.
That's a conversation for a different pod. My thing with Giannis is when Milwaukee played Toronto in the conference finals, in my entire life, I have never seen an MVP shoot that bad from the free throw line. It was torture.
I mean, think about it. Free throws. Is that the only complaint we have about him, though?
That and a perimeter shot, yeah.
But does he need one, though? Like, I say Harden was robbed, but
he doesn't.
I like Giannis quite a bit, too. I think he's a great player. But as we move towards this league where everyone's shooting threes, do you need to shoot a three to be effective in basketball?
Well, if you think it's Ben Simmons, yes. But
this is why you don't let 76ers fans anywhere near your vicinity.
No, I mean,
Shaq didn't have a three. Kareem didn't even understand what the three-point line was.
Like, the thing is with the three-point line, I know Dwight Howard a couple years ago, he was like, oh, yeah, I'm trying to add a three-point shot. Like, you're Dwight Howard. Why do you need one? I'm not saying that Giannis needs to go to the gym and practice with Ray Allen, Kobe, Curry, Reggie Miller. No. Just work on getting your free throw percentage over 80%, because if he consistently was making those free throws in the series against Toronto, we could have had Milwaukee be in the finals.
Yeah. And I was rooting for Milwaukee to make the finals. I made a bet with a friend that Milwaukee was going to make the finals. I still haven't paid out that bet. So, Griffin, if you're listening, I still owe you money, man.
I always like having a fresh face up here in the championship, because with the NBA, it is so much more unpredictable unless you have two super teams facing off like you have with LeBron James versus Golden State. Anybody that plays with LeBron, they're on a super team. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Yeah, Mo Williams is really on a super team. All right. But going back to that statement, think about 1 year ago. Think about September 2018. Someone tells you, hey, the Golden State Warriors are going to be in the finals. Well, yeah, obviously. They're going to lose. Oh, to who? The Toronto Raptors. Toronto Raptors are the NBA champions. That's not a sentence that should exist, but it does. The Raptors won the title. No one would have believed you. Oh, they got Kawhi. They got Lowry. Siakam. Yeah, they got talent. They traded for Gasol. Yeah, they got the talent, but did anyone actually think it was ever going to happen? The Raptors.
Now, speaking of Golden State and speaking of players on roster and whatnot, honest question here. Do you think that they misdiagnosed Kevin Durant, who actually had a tear in his calf muscle, goes back out, tears his Achilles. Who do you blame? Do you blame Kevin for trying to play it through? Do you think Golden State misdiagnosed him? What's your take on this?
See, everyone wants to play the blame game. I'm not sure anyone's at fault here. Like, injuries happen in sports. Did you see Kobe blaming anyone when he tore his Achilles? I mean, I didn't see that because I was too busy crying because Kobe tore his Achilles, and I cried a lot that day. But, I think everyone wants to find, whose fault is it? I'm not sure it's anyone's fault. He played hurt, he knew the risk, he got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, with a calf strain like that, when you're playing in the NBA Finals, obviously you want to be out there and play every single game to help your team win because there's no greater honor than holding the championship trophy. I'm sorry, there is not in any sport at any level. If you don't hold that championship trophy, that's nothing. I completely understand KD wanting to be out there, but when you go out knowing that you had a calf strain and you're probably not 100% yet, I'll tell you what, he looked like the best shooter on the floor when he did come back, but obviously he went down. But as much as I do want to say that nobody's at fault, I just think somewhere along the line there was a misdiagnosis in terms of, this is how severe it was, you could come back, or this is what it actually was. But along with this topic, DeMarcus Cousins, a new signee for the Lakers, who you were actually pretty happy about. You thought that he was going to mold pretty well, but with the injuries that he's had, because with New Orleans, he tore his Achilles, and then in the playoffs with Golden State, tears the quad muscle, and then in the preseason, tears his ACL, all within 18 months on the same leg. If this dude wants to walk when he's 50 years old and play around in the park with his grandkids, he needs to retire.
Oh, no doubt. DeMarcus, it's time. Like, your body's failed you. It's a tragedy. I loved watching you play. You gotta think, man. This is the end. It is incredibly sad, but I mean, how much more of a sign do you need?
I mean, it's kind of ironic because you talk about a guy who's about 7 feet tall when he's about 280 pounds. You want him to, like Stephen A. Smith, Colin Cowherd, a couple of those guys going, hey, if he could lose maybe just 10, 15 pounds, get a little bit quicker on his feet, I think it might revolutionize his game. What people don't realize is when you're that tall, you could be too skinny, too weightless, and it can actually screw up your body pretty bad. And that's why Manute Bol, one of the best defensive players of all time, but the lack of time spent on the court was because he probably was only like 150 pounds and he was 7'7". Like, when you don't have, because you need all the muscles and the fat in your body to be able to support your joints when you're moving, which is why they always say when you're about 7 foot, you want to be above 250 pounds. Like when you look at Karl Anthony Towns, I think it's like 240. If you look at Embiid, I think he's like 250, 260. They want you to have a couple pounds on you so it help protect yourself with sort of impact. And I just think Cousins just got really unfortunate. And it's a shame because when he was in Sacramento, he was a dog.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
I hate to say it happened to anybody, but, I mean, him with Anthony Davis, again, because, let me tell you, in New Orleans, they were looking to be one of the best teams in the West that could possibly go to the conference semifinals, but...
They were on to something.
I mean, if you could have put a healthy Davis... I'm sorry, DeMarcus Cousins healthy with Anthony Davis and LeBron...
What could have been?
That's scary, but we're never going to know.
No. And that's the greatest tragedy of this whole situation is a lot of people like to play the what-if game. Well, the thing with the what-if is we'll never know.
Like we have a lot of what ifs with football and basketball. Like, what if Derrick Rose never tore his ACL and then tore his meniscus? And we could say the same about Gordon Hayward breaking his foot. If he didn't do that, how would Boston look right now? We could look at Brandon Roy in Portland. If he didn't have all the problems, he probably would have been, probably still be playing right now and be averaging at least 18. He was,
I would agree.
God blessed him, but his knees just couldn't keep up. I just don't know how people can deal with all injuries like that and then expect to come back with all that. So Jack and I decided when we end an episode, we're going to go back and do something called Scorching Hot Takes, where we go back into the vault and we reveal
There is
a
no
prediction.
actual vault.
Anyhow, we go back in time and look at a prediction that we made back in the day, and then we say, right, we messed up. I'll start. In the NCAA tournament this year, I had Cincinnati going to the Final Four. Hey, you had Tennessee winning it all. You have no.
I also did. Okay, yeah, but which makes more sense? Tennessee, a 2 seed, I believe, winning it, or Cincinnati. What seed was Cincinnati? Was that like 8 or something?
I think they were 6.
Okay, yeah, Cincinnati, the Bearcats. Now, I get it. You're from Ohio. You like to believe in your Ohio teams and your inferior state. But, no.
I would have picked Ohio State to go in the Final Four if they were that spot. If you just look at any defense under, I forget his name, I think it's Sean Marks, but if you watch any game coached by him, he is just like Tom Izzo, but he likes to focus more on defense, and I just think with a couple of the matchups that they had, because playing against Purdue, Carson Edwards, when he's on, but when he's off, that entire team is just garbage. I think they could counter his inconsistency and use it against them, and I just think they could carry that momentum going forward, but didn't work out.
No, it didn't, because, you had Duke. Sorry, Duke didn't make the Final Four. Sorry about that. I had Duke. Sorry. You had Michigan State. You had Auburn. You had Texas Tech, and you had Virginia. Now, I said those 4 teams.
I got all of them right besides Cincinnati. So
I said those 4 teams. I didn't hear Cincinnati in any of those 4 teams.
No.
Weird. But I have no room to talk because in 2017, I alluded to this earlier, I had A, Sam Darnold winning the Heisman, and B, USC making the playoffs. Pac-12.
I don't know where to start on that.
Okay. This wasn't the worst take in the world at the start. Because they still finished, 10 wins? 9 wins, something like that?
Yeah.
They still finished as a good team, played Ohio State, I believe. I just believed, man. I like USC. I like the Pac-12, but listen, Cincinnati making the Final Four is far worse than saying USC was going to make the playoff.
Was it Darnold's
Yes.
senior year when they played Penn State in the Rose Bowl, or was that the year before he went to the?
No, that was 2 years. Darnold had this. Darnold's last year was 1 year after the Penn State Rose Bowl.
Yeah, I remember
that was partially the reason.
I'll tell you what, that was actually a really good game, but I think watching that one, I just wasn't completely sold on him. But I mean, when you play quarterback for USC, I don't think people realize how high expectations you have because of Matt Leinart and Carson Palmer from about a decade ago. But
jeez, it's already been a decade. Well,
yeah,
longer.
Heck, Palmer was drafted in 2003.
Time flies, man. Oh, okay, I say that, but we were really young, without revealing our ages. USC was one of the first teams I liked, obviously besides Michigan State.
Yeah.
I liked USC. I wanted to believe, and I did, and they let me down. Thanks, Trojans.
And now Oregon's doing the same, eh?
Why don't you just, stop doing everything you're doing in life?
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we thank you for listening to Lineman Lives Matter. Do look forward to more episodes in the future. I'm Jack Wainick.
And I'm Joe Jancic. Until next time, thank you for listening. If you're listening to us, whether it's SoundCloud, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, make sure to subscribe, follow, comment, give us a feedback. Jack, what do you think about possibly doing some sort of a mailbox for the next show where we can comment on opinions in the comment section or stuff like that? Like if we ever get to the point where we have stuff like that, we can do a little elaboration on that.
Absolutely. If anyone here listening has any questions or wants to make fun of Joe for picking Cincinnati to make the Final Four, please by all means give us feedback, leave us comments. Shut up, Joe. Let us know, and we'll certainly engage with you. And if you want to make fun of Joe, again, that is 100% fine. Or if you want to reveal any of your hot takes from the past, let us know.
Or let Jack know that he was stupid for thinking USC can be relevant again anytime soon.
Okay, well, we're just going to be doing this for the rest of the night. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for listening. I'm Jack Wainick. This is Joe Jancic. We'll see you later.